Welcome to the talk. This is the talk called Take the Toxic Out of Your Cleaning and Your Home Really. We're going to start in a couple minutes, so stay tuned. This is Dr. Anna Lowe from the Happy Health Institute. And I'm going to start a series called the Happy Health Living Series. And it's really all the research and information I want to share with my audience about what's in our living environment. There's no way to actually live healthy by just eating supplements, eating healthy. It's really about being engaged with our environment. And that's what really prefaced me to put together this series. A little preview, I'm going to do the Take the Toxic Out of Your Cleaning, from specifically cleaners, how it impacts us and our environment. And then I'm going to do one that's how do you actually create a healthy, healing home. So that's what we'll be doing next. And I'm going to pull this here. So I'm getting set up. So I will have capacity for doing Q&A, both on Facebook and also on my webinar. So welcome to participants on my webinar. And I'm just learning how to use this, so I might be shoddy at times, so pardon me for that. And we'll begin. It's 10 o'clock. So welcome. This is the talk on Take the Toxic Out of Your Cleaning and Your Home. So first of all, for people who are listening, welcome. Did you know that of more than 100,000 commercially used chemicals in our surroundings, actually over a quarter of them, 25,000 of them, are actually known to be hazardous to human health? That means it's actually contributing to the downfall of our body. And when you did a biopsy of human fat cells, did you know that these cells in our body, in the fat cells, show high levels of toxins that can be found in items as common as gasoline, paint, household cleaners? And unfortunately, there's like a cumulative effect that actually, from years of this continual contact, that eventually overwhelms our body system and causing problems. And did you actually know that there's an average household that has 62 toxic chemicals, and these ingredients have linked to asthma, cancer, reproductive disorders, hormone disruption, and neurotoxicity. Studies of people who works as cleaners have been found to have lungs damage similar to what you would get by smoking 20 cigarettes a day. And also, how many of you here have antibacterial soap, or have seen, hospitals or clinics for a while use antibacterial soap? So it turns out that these antibacterial soap not only are not antibacterial, but they're actually creating superbugs. They're actually killing algae in the sea, they're disrupting our ecosystem, and they're actually killing fish. So, and that same goes to cosmetics that we're using, toothpaste you're using, tampons, all personal health products that are very intimate and alive. And so this is a very dear and important topic for someone like me who works with patients' health, people who have a lot of issues in detoxing. It really comes up, and it's such an important piece. In order to optimize your health, you have to start by preventing. So, did you know that? So who here has a chronic health issues? People who are listening here, who here has family history of autoimmune disease, or you yourself has Hashimoto's, autoimmune, or an arthritis issues? Who here has sensitivity to smell, chemicals, foods? And who else here has a pet? Who here uses regular medication? Who here is a parent? Or if you simply just, you already are suspicious of what's in the chemicals in your food, you are eating organic, and you want to now start reading labels. You want to start being able to educate your community. You want to be more clear in what exactly it is that's causing the inkling for you to pay attention to reading labels. And how do you read, labels? So this talk is absolutely for you if you want to live a healthy, healing life, one that you spend, live in a home where 50% of your time is spent, resting, sleeping, rejuvenating. You want to start there. You want to start having a healthy, cleaning place. This talk is for you if you want to understand how your environment can impact your health and your life, how you also can make choices to impact your health and environment. And you also want to optimize the health of your family, your pets, and most importantly, learn what to do right away. Learn how to have alternatives to traditional cleaning options. So first, let me tell you a little bit about myself. I'm Dr. Anna Lowe. I'm a board-certified family medicine and integrative specialist. I've been certified in many modalities of medicine like acupuncture, osteopathic medicine, herbal medicine, mind-body medicine. Really, it's because I really believe to be a really good general family medicine that connects with people, it's important to have tools that really ranges from preventative to diagnosing and to optimizing and also to connect with people and give tools for you to live healthy. Well, what I do is in my practice that's different than ordinary practice is I've created a very heart-centered, effective, and comprehensive functional medicine practice here in California, in Albany, Berkeley, California. And I specialize in working with women who are experiencing low energy, abnormal hormones, who are physically, mentally burnt out, adrenal fatigued, in pain. And I offer a very successful, specific blueprint that help these women reclaim your vitality, your joy, so that you can live to your fullest potential. The people I help are people I love, or people who love working with me. They're ready to feel better. They're ready to get answers. They're ready to change their environment, to actually look and investigate what actually got them sick in the first place. They want a team that's caring, that wants to listen to them, that wants to be there for them. And they're ready to do as many of things that they can do to say, I want to live a happy, healthy life, and recover from what I'm feeling. But what I really do is that my goal is not to keep, my goal is really to keep people happy and healthy. I don't want to keep people on supplements. I don't want to put them on special diets forever. My goal is really to help people to inspire yourself, your community, your family to be happy and healthy. And the fastest solution to do that is to provide you with a foundation of knowledge on how to be happy, how to be healthy, and actually make you become the doctor of the future, make you become the one that's full of a foundation of health so you can do that. So I always like to share my story with my health because that's what motivated me to create this practice and to share my knowledge. So when I was in college, I was a type A, go-getter personality. I was fast-tracked to life, right? I'm Asian, so I love to do well. I love to get an A grade. And I want to be a doctor. So I lived a very intense lifestyle, lots of late night, lots of pressure to perform. And from self-pressure, wanting to be excellent in what I do, I got sick. I got sick in college. My sophomore year, I had ulcers, I had asthmas, I had chronic migraines, I had severe low back pain. I mean, I was active, but all of that just made me stop. And I had to take a semester from school because I was just so bad. I couldn't perform even the basic task of reading, being on a phone, or having engaging conversations. I couldn't do what I love to do, which is learning and connecting with people. And I got really anxious. I thought that was never going to leave me. I thought I was going to be handicapped like that for the rest of my life. And so and I didn't want to be a burden to others. So as I have these internal talks, I just spiraled. And at the same time, I went and saw all these doctors when I was at Brown in Providence. And the doctors I saw just treated my symptoms. They say, well, go and have this medication for your headache, have this medication for your ulcers, have a protonic so that you stop making acids. But none of them actually looked at the root causes. And I was prescribed medicine that not only didn't help, but they also gave me terrible side effects like fatigue, brain fog, dry skin, dry mouth. And most importantly and frustrating is I couldn't even function. I was getting worse side effects than I was from the sickness I was feeling. And that's when I began my journey of saying, I want to figure out what's going on. I was so frustrated and fed up. I said, I want to know what's happening. And that's what led me to integrative medicine approaches and functional medicine approach. And the functional medicine really addressed it and gave me a very clear system of how to approach it and how to tease it out. Because eventually I realized I had heavy metal, probably from eating lots of fish growing up in Hong Kong, like 5 days a week. Having lots of stress, having a lot of, having underlying severe food allergies, having a bacterial overgrowth. And so as I slowly learned more about functional medicine, I was able to tease down all the bits and pieces in the last 20 years. And I, healed myself. And in the journey of healing myself, I learned more and more. And I include that now with my practice. And I do a lot of what I do from what I learned with my patients. Now I'm 40. I feel much better. I've not had a headache for 20 years. I have a thriving practice. I serve my community. I travel with my kids. I volunteer. So I live a really full life without ever feeling I compromise. And I feel like there's, I don't take any medicines. I sleep great. And this is the purpose. I want to be able to share that with my community. So let's go into the talk. But first of all, I think that what I really inspired me to do this talk too is because I have 2 healthy kids, and I realized that being healthy starts young. I got really sick even when I was 14. I had ulcer when I was in 3rd grade. I had to go to the hospital with ulcer. So a lot of this started early, and I wanted my children to have as much of an edge living in this day and age with a lot of passive exposures. I want them to be supported as best as they can as they're living in my home. So that's what I came up with this topic. So today I'm going to be teaching you about why toxic chemicals can cause problems, top chemicals to look out for, what specific products to avoid, what products are affecting our environments, and what can you start doing right away. So let's talk about the concept of toxic burden. So first of all, most of these companies that make these products, they would argue that there's only a very small amount of toxic ingredients in household cleaners, and it's not going to be an issue. Like taking a dip in a pool full of chlorine is not going to cause issue. But what happened is it's really the concept of toxic burden. Routine exposure or exposure in combination with other chemicals that have not been studied are just causing a lot of overload, and there's not been studied, and there's no way to really accurately gauge the risks involved. So when we have chronic exposure to toxic fumes and chemicals that is known to the body as toxic burden or body's burden, this refers to the total accumulation of toxins in your body, specifically the number of chemicals stored in your tissue at any given time. So when your system is exposed to too many heavy metals, pesticides, pharmaceuticals, or other toxins, it becomes fatigued and loses ability to flush them out. And this leads to illness such as heart disease, cancer, autoimmune disorders, neurodegenerative diseases, fibromyalgia, hormone imbalances, infertility, and to name a few. Well, a way I like to explain to my patient is this. It's kind of like looking at filling a bucket. Your ability to detox, your ability to handle the load is just like a bucket. A body can handle a certain amount of stressors at any given time. And each different organ in our system, like the thyroid, our liver, our kidney, they all have their own separate capacity based on their size and their workload. And so when you however much that the fullness of those buckets, we call that the total load or the total body burden. And the sum of all the stresses we put together all at one time is the total load, right? So you fill up the bucket to its fullest. But when a bucket's overflowing with, in this case, stressors, toxins, things, at some point it becomes overflows. And when it becomes overflows, that's when issues actually happen. So our liver is one of the biggest detox organ. What its job is, it actually brings in any external toxins. Our fat takes care of it, absorbs into our system, and there's we need nutrients, amino acids, glutathione, B vitamins. That's why we always say eat your green vegetables, but also, amino acids. That's why protein is very important. And you use that liver system, then you detox, and it goes into turn it into bile or turn it into, and that's why the second part of it important of a detox system is to be able to get rid of it, which is being able to poop well, being able to pee well, being able to sweat a lot. That's why exercise and sweating is important too. But as we overload our detox system, when our total load is high from all these years of accumulated stress, toxins, exposures, that's when problems happen. And so it's in today's talk, it's really just start by a simple, what is our passive exposure? What are things that we can just eliminate that we're not even paying attention to because it's not what we, not just from a diet, not from the medicines, not from how we, actively improve our system. It's just simply by saying, well, how can we improve our intake passively or eliminate any abnormal intakes so that we don't have to add to this load without thinking. And I think that's the biggest part, because when we go out, we interact. For example, I live in a city, I live in an urban environment. I don't have control over the hospital or the clinic that I work in and what cleaners they use, right? And so I have to make conscious, hyper-conscious decisions in my own household to be able to say, for the times I sleep around my bed and all, around using my bathrooms, the water I drink, it's so important. And that's a talk that I'm going to go over in a different conversation. But today's going to be on, and the guidelines is going to be on cleaning. So first of all, let's understand what's the federal guideline, because it's really important to understand that turns out cleaning products, unlike food and beverages and cosmetics, even though cleaning products still permeate through skin, can get into our body system, there's no federal law to actually say that you need to carry a list of ingredients. So there's a lot of problem that happens. So for years, companies would claim that, providing a full list of ingredients would go against the right for, patent, privacy, a marketing edge. But that really means that manufacturers have no reason to avoid risky chemicals or for them to declare chemicals that could actually prevent people from buying them. And so there's a lot of dangerous products now outside that's slipping through the crack, and I'm going to talk about them and help you become aware of them. So first of all, what do you think is the most dangerous cleaning product? So the most dangerous product are corrosive drain cleaners, oven cleaners, and acidic toilet bowl cleaners. So corrosive chemicals can cause severe burns on the eyes, skin, and if ingested on the throat or esophagus. So ingredients to look out for includes chlorine bleaches, ammonia, which produces fumes, are so irritating for your skin and can trigger asthma attacks. So it's so important for families who have children or yourself have asthma to become aware. I would go as far as eczema, because I find that asthma and eczema they've already been studied to be closely connected in the way they cause atrophy. But I think for people who have that issue, start by looking at these most caustic ones that has ammonia and chlorine bleaches. And if you have pets and children, it's so important to think about, they're shorter to the floor, they're always on the floor, so it's so important to think about what's the type of floor cleaner that you're using, because they're a lot of times putting things in their mouth afterwards, or you're actually running around, or you're hugging your dog after they've been running around, the floor all day. And that same goes to surface cleaners or yard or garden products. If anyone's likely to be eating off a surface, walking or playing on a surface, you want to do your best to ensure that the products used to clean the area doesn't have any harmful toxins. So now we're going to jump into talking about what are some most common culprits. The idea of these is for you to just get into some names, some basic words that you can start actually paying attention and educating yourself and your community to kind of say, okay, these are things, but most importantly are just to become aware, especially when they greenwash. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. Greenwashing is when companies use the concept of green living to kind of hard sell their stuff when they're not really up to par. So phthalates is the first that I want to talk about. Phthalates, a lot of people use dish soaps, air fresheners, toilet paper that has phthalates that actually makes that extended aromatic strength. So it's really interesting. We've come to a day and age where every time you walk into an Uber driving car, they have these, scented products to make the car smells good, or people using laundry air freshener smell scented products. And it's become a culture where the natural smell of the environment is kind of masked, where I find the scent to be a very important way for you to identify the health of the home, because that's how you smell for mold, that's how you smell for, you know, dirtiness or dampness, or you smell for any sort of, you know, sour, you know, things are just not, like, there's definitely a smell to it, but we're not used to knowing that. Rather than covering up with an air freshener, it's more important to actually identify it and removing that. So phthalates are known to disrupt hormone secretion and can cause infertility. And although exposure, you know, mainly occurs from inhalation, but that's the issue, right? The whole point is you can smell these air fresheners. It can be also absorbed through the skin through scented soap product. So this is problematic because the skin, unlike the digestive system, there's actually no safeguards. The digestive system has antibodies, have actually a strict wall that prevents it from getting into the bloodstream. Whereas in the skin, you find small, tiny capillaries that it's really quick way for us to absorb, you know, chemicals is through the skin, because it just, and we have such a huge service. So it's so mindful for us to, it's so important for us to be mindful of skin exposure. And that's why dish soap, bath soaps that has phthalates or, you know, good smelling fragrance, you have to be mindful not to use. Another culprit is antibacterial soaps. So, you know, for a while, I see that it became a very fancy term for, you know, products to sell. And turns out triclosan, which is what we find in antibacterials, found in liquid dishwashing soap, hand soap. It's actually banned in my clinic now. You can use, you know, alcohol. You can use alcohol wipes and stuff like that. But what the alcohol hand washes, but the soap itself, what happens, turns out they promote the growth of drug-resistant bacteria. And it could also disrupt hormone function, and it's also a possible carcinogen. So not only are you now thinking that you're washing your hand with antibacterial, so you're actually making it worse by actually propagating more bacteria. So how ironic is that? And more than that, if you think about not just how it affects our health, other studies have actually found that now rivers and streams have dangerous concentrations of triclosan, which is very toxic to algae, which is a very important food for fish. And when that happens, it majorly disrupts our ecosystem. So important to start avoiding triclosan, or specifically antibacterial soap, and detergents with just, you know, finding soaps and simple detergents that are short, you know, that have short ingredients list. That really the goal of washing your hand is just washing the dirt. And I talk about, you know, antibacterial for not getting sick. It truly is about building an immune system. It really goes internally, having lower toxic loads, and you tend to get, you know, sick less, being exposed into the sun, having enough vitamin D, you know, having lots of fruits and vegetables in your diet. Those are the ways to truly build your immune system or improve your gut absorption. But antibacterial is a false concept by saying I'm removing it from my hand. It's not, because we are touching so much bacteria in a day-to-day basis. There are also other fancy terms, right? Another thing to do is avoid scented laundry detergent. So when you find a product like an Ocean Breeze, fresh cotton scented laundry detergent, turns out studies have found that 1/3 of all scented detergents contain at least one chemically flagged by EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, as potentially cancer causing. So 1/3 of it, on average. Toxic laundry detergent products emit at least 17 toxins that can go unlisted on the label. And that can cause problems from skin irritation to neurological damage. I mean, we spend all this time and money. A lot of people are now more conscious about eating healthy, making choices, changing diets, but it's so important just to passively removing something that we bathe ourselves in. We wear our clothes 24/7 in to really remove that. So we're breathing in these air, you know, the freshening airs, you know, every moment when we're sleeping in our bed sheets. So it's so important to know about this. Another important one to think about is, I'm trying to remove the my little There we go. The another one to look at, it's called the quats. It's an ammonium compound, and it's found again in a lot of antibacterial, microbial, and turns out just like triclosan. Again, when you think about antibacterial, just realize most of the time, if you kill something, just like antibiotics, when you kill something, you're not just killing the good, but a lot of times you're killing the bad. Sorry, you're not only killing the bad, but you're killing the good. And so you're actually creating a disbalance. But also what happens, you're actually strengthening the bacteria. The bacteria are so smart in evolving themselves. So that's when you actually start breeding antibacterial, antibiotic-resistant bacteria. So quats are found in fabric softeners, most household cleaners labeled antibacterial. So now we're getting some, tips here. Avoid all things antibacterial unless if the ingredients are, natural things like oil of oregano, tea tree oil, or something like that. But most importantly, if you have sensitive skin, prone to skin irritation, make sure to be aware and avoid this chemical. So now another one is the butoxyethanol. So this one is interesting. This one is what you find it in things that tends to be blue colored when you buy them. They're in window, kitchen, multi-purpose cleaners. They make things squeaky clean. And it can cause extreme irritation when you inhale it in an unventilated room. But when do you use these? You usually use it in your bathroom when you clean the mirror, when you clean the surfaces. And according to the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, high level this compound can cause sore throat and over time pulmonary issues, liver and kidney damage. I mean, no things we use in the house should ever cause liver and kidney damage if we use them frequently. But again, unfortunately, law does not require this compound to be listed on labels. And so your best bet is still to make DIY, make your own products from natural ingredients. So knowing this is more just saying, hey, you have to really now turn to more natural because you can't actually find these even if you look for labels. So now let's go to a very, very common one, which is the next two, which is ammonia. Ammonia is a very, very common ingredient in all over the world. It's a great cleaning product because it promises a very streak-free clean, shine, and however, we all know that ammonia is a very powerful irritant. It will actually affect you right away. The smell itself is very harsh and pungent, and it affects lung and breathing problems as well, especially in elderly. And and it's really hard to actually avoid breathing in the gas of ammonia. And so people who get a lot of ammonia exposure can have asthma, chronic bronchitis. And especially when mixed with bleach, it can cause a very poisonous gas. And it is very common and very, very problematic. So now the next one is chlorine. It's again very common, right, for people who are swims, people who are in, who are in hot tubs, right? When you have lots of hot tubs exposures, it's a very common chemical in our daily life. But excessive exposure can cause chronic disease over time. Chlorine is also in city water to cleanse it through bacteria. And it can also be, absorbed through your skin. So again, chronic exposure to this can, lead to toxic burden, just overload your toxic system. The next one is another very common lye. So sodium hydroxide is the less common word, but lye, a lot of people actually lye. People mix soap with lye. It's actually extremely abrasive. It's used in oven cleaner and drain cleaners because it actually destroys everything that gets in the way. So it actually really just melts things away. It's super powerful to clean away grime and all, but it's also extremely, dangerous when it touches your skin, gets in your eyes, it can also cause severe burns. And when you inhale it, it can cause sore throat for at least a couple days. So you really want to be aware of that. And now let's talk about all these toxic cleaning products that I just mentioned, So all of the ones I've talked about, the chlorine, the phthalate, the triclosan, all the antibacterial, and scent fragrant materials, not only are they just causing problems in our system, but when they're affecting us, a lot of them are actually not biodegradable. They're actually chemicals that are made, and they're not biodegradable in the soil and the water. So they hang around in that water source, just like triclosan I mentioned earlier, that it causes problem for algae. So they become pollutants. They can threaten the water quality, wildlife quality, and as a downstream effect, and the way they affect ecosystem. And they also, just like the way they, increase the overall toxic burden in our body, they increase the overall toxic burden on the earth. And we're seeing that now in mercury, in styrene, which is the form of styrofoam, glycophosphate from Roundup. We're finding them in different, in food particles, but in body, in our blood, in our fats. And eventually, all of these, pollutant makes it back to our way. So it becomes a vicious cycle. So the water we pollute will eventually be consumed by us again, or at least by plants and animals that we consume. So it's a very important understanding of the fact that they can't be removed completely or disintegrated is a very big problem, just like plastic. So what about rivers? So phosphates is a water softening mineral additive that one's used a lot in laundry detergents and other cleaners. And they also act as a fertilizer. So as a result, when we use a lot of phosphates back in the day, it actually caused an overgrowth of algae. And so this overabundance of aquatic life then sucks away the oxygen supply within the water, and it ends up killing lots of fish and other organisms and disrupting the entire surrounding ecosystem. And so now many states have found this. Took a while, but they found this, and they've banned the use of phosphate in laundry detergents. However, it's not banned from automatic dishwasher detergent. So people who are using that are still actually participating, but without knowing, right? Until you're educated and hyper-conscious, there's no way of understanding the little things that we can do and impact. And I myself find that actually automatic dishwasher detergents are the hardest to actually make as a concoction, as a DIY product compared to all the other cleaners. So what are some, quick start, what if after this talk, going over these concepts, what are some things that you can just bring home right away? I think that I want to start by, talking about greenwashing. So marketers of products know that being environmental friendly is the new trend, right? They know that they can design a product to make it seem like they're eco-friendly by having beautiful bottles, having beautiful stories behind them. For example, many aerosol spray now says there's no CFC, which is chlorofluorocarbons, which actually depletes the ozone layer. That leads the consumer to think, oh, this company is doing something because they're doing something, right? They're being eco-friendly. But in reality, CFC, chlorofluorocarbons, has been banned from aerosols since 1978, which makes this label meaningless because no one's really using it. But by purely as a marketing ploy, it's calling, that's what greenwashing or green marketing is. It's really a miseducation of market people who want to do good but actually don't have the baseline or to when they just trust marketing. So instead you want to look for a product that says solvent free, or you want to look at ingredients lists where they're very natural, or they're not full of the chemicals, or they're fully disclosing their own list. So I would say, first of all, avoid gimmicks like natural, antibacterial, fragrance, eco-friendly, non-toxic, no CFC. So look at those and say, don't trust them right away. Pay attention to what it really says in the back. Pay attention to look at any list that I mentioned, but most of the time they probably won't. And so as a result, you want to, but if you really have to choose products, go for sulfur-free. Go for one that says no phosphate, no petroleum base, or it's third-party verified by another like EWG, like environmental work group, that verifies it's a good environmentally friendly product. And I think the best thing that you can start with, the first action is really just start getting rid of as many products you have and just simplify it. Find a few multi-purpose products that work really well and use it for all the services. And use the remainder of what you have very sparingly, right? But even better, just dispose of those products, not have them in your home, especially if you have children and kids or animals around. But most importantly, as we talked about the environmental impact, it's so important to find cities or facilities that actually collect these toxins. Not every place have it, but it's so important not to just dump them in your drain, because just like medications, we're educating people to return it to pharmacies like CVS to give it back so that they incinerate it, because that's also another way we're actually adding to toxic load to our water supply, is when people dump stuff into their drain. So a good tip, just simply go to ewg.org, a great educational site that you just type in cleaners, safe cleaners, and they'll show you with top products. They'll teach you how to decode labels. They'll talk about different reports. It's an excellent website. With really good guidelines. Another option is actually to make your own cleaning products. They're very simple. They're very, price friendly, super cheap. And the natural ingredients that you need are simply like baking soda, vinegar, lemon juice, which are already in your pantry. And they can double as household cleaners that are already very natural. So here's a list of things that I think once you have them all, you can pretty much do everything. So natural, baking soda, washing soda, white distilled vinegar, natural liquid soap, tea tree oil for smell, and also that antibacterial use. You've seen probably products of hand spray for hand cleaners have tea tree oil in them. Having spray bottles so you can put it in and refill them. Glass jars, so that you can shake it and mix it and store things. As a natural liquid soap, I actually personally really like to use Dr. Bronner's. They have a pure Castile soap, but they also have a salsad, which you can actually mix vinegar in, and it'll actually will not clump up, whereas regular soap would clump up with vinegar. And it's an all-in-one purpose. There's so much you can do, and their website has absolutely a lot of information that you can use. And so this concludes the talk. It's a very short and sweet talk because it really is just meant to not overwhelm you and kind of give you something to start with. So I'd love to hear if anyone in here is listening to share what's your one take-home that you got from this, and then also what's one action item that you can feel like you can do starting today. Yeah, so I see some people just simply mentioning just getting rid of all the antibacterial soaps in your home. Yep, and actually, yeah, and start actually just having a spray bottle and just making a simple cleaner. Great, those are really great action items. So that concludes our talk. And I want to thank you for listening in and tuning in on it. Again, it's really meant to support you into this journey of having a happy, healthy living and lifestyle for yourself and family and the community. That's really my commitment. So if you find this, information valuable, feel free to, sign up to be on my Facebook group, the Happy Health Community. Also, other things that you might benefit that are continued on this way of how do you actually start creating a healthy foundation in your life, I welcome you to go on my website, analowmd.com, and just sign up for my 14 Days to Health email series. It's 14 emails that just gives you a little simple few-minute talk that go over just what are things that you can do that day to just start changing and impacting your life in a healthy way. I'm also going to have a PDF guide for non-toxic household cleaning agents. I see a little typo there, but it's a beautiful PDF that you can just look at and actually start making your own do-it-yourself cleaners. So if you sign up for my webinar, then you would automatically get it. And if you are actually interested, type in your name in Facebook, comment, and I'd be happy to send it and share it with you. And lastly, I'm going to be giving another talk on this line on my second of my health series, Healthy Living series. It's going to be called 8 Tips to Creating a Healthy Home. So for people who've been wondering about the water, like water filters, air filters, lights, EMF, electromagnetic field, is that a real thing? Or, how do you, just products that you can use, things that can actually help you start healing your body and start minimizing toxic load from a different level, and raise your living, health standard and your health awareness to a whole new level where you can actually live optimally and then do the things that you love to do. I think that would be a really good talk that you would enjoy. So stay tuned for that. One of the ways is to sign up for to become my community on analowmd.com, or just, write a comment on my Facebook. Then I would be happy to sign you up for that when it comes in. So I'm going to leave a few seconds here for anyone who might have any questions. Here's some of the references I used. And that concludes my talk today. Have a wonderful day, and I hope this helped contribute to you with some resources so that you can begin your journey in living happy and healthy. Have a beautiful day.